Have you ever looked at Europe and thought, why does everything take so long? Whether it's a new policy, a trade deal, or even just building a train line, the process can feel incredibly slow, almost glacial. Meanwhile, other parts of the world seem to move at lightning speed, making decisions and implementing changes overnight. It's easy to look at Europe's deliberate, often bureaucratic pace and see it as a weakness, a sign of being stuck in the past. But what if I told you that this slowness is not a bug, but a feature? What if this perceived weakness is actually one of Europe's greatest long-term strengths? Today, we're diving deep into why Europe moves slower and how that deliberate pace often helps it end up ahead in the long run. It's a story about consensus, stability, and playing the long game. Let's start with the core of the issue: consensus politics. In many European countries, and especially within the European Union itself, decisions aren't made by a single leader or a single party steamrolling the opposition. Instead, the system is designed to build broad agreement. Think about it. The EU has 27 member states, each with its own language, culture, history, and national interests. To get anything done, they all have to talk, negotiate, compromise, and eventually agree. This process is messy and time-consuming. It involves endless meetings in Brussels, late-night negotiations, and countless drafts of legislation. It's the political equivalent of herding cats. A country like France might want one thing, Germany another, and Poland something completely different. Finding the middle ground that everyone can live with is a monumental task. This is why when you hear about a new EU regulation, it's often been in the works for years, sometimes even a decade. From the outside, this looks inefficient. Why not just have a strong leader make a decision and get on with it? Well, here's the magic of the European model. Because the process is so inclusive and requires so much buy-in, the final decision is incredibly robust. It is not a policy that is going to be overturned the moment a new government comes into power. It has been stress-tested from every possible angle by 27 different countries. It has the backing of a supermajority, which means it's built to last. This creates a level of stability and predictability that is a huge advantage. Businesses, for instance, love predictability. If you're going to invest billions of euros in a new factory or a new technology, you want to be sure that the rules of the game aren't going to change overnight. The slow, consensus-driven approach of Europe provides that certainty. Investors know that a policy enacted today will likely still be the policy a decade from now. This stable environment is a powerful magnet for long-term investment and sustainable growth. Let's take a real-world example: environmental regulations. Europe has some of the strictest and most comprehensive environmental laws in the world, from emission standards for cars to rules on single-use plastics. These regulations didn't appear overnight. The famous GDPR, the data privacy law, took years of debate. The Fit for 55 climate package is another massive undertaking that requires every member state to get on board. The process was long and arduous. Industries complained, politicians argued. But once the decision was made, it set a clear, long-term direction. It forced entire industries to innovate. European car manufacturers had to develop more efficient engines and electric vehicles. Companies had to rethink their packaging and supply chains. While it was painful in the short term, it positioned European industries at the forefront of the green transition. Now, a lot of the world is playing catch-up. Other countries are trying to implement similar standards, and their companies are looking to European firms for the technology and expertise. This is what's known as the Brussels effect. Because the EU is such a huge market, companies worldwide often adopt its standards just so they can sell their products in Europe. In effect, Europe's slow, deliberate process ends up setting the global gold standard. Europe doesn't just make rules for itself. It quietly shapes the rules for everyone else. Contrast this with a more top-down, move fast and break things approach. A rapid decision might seem impressive at first, but it can often lead to unintended consequences. A policy pushed through without broad support can be reversed just as quickly when power changes hands. This creates a cycle of political whiplash, where the country lurches from one direction to another. It's hard to build anything lasting on such shaky ground. Businesses become hesitant to make long-term plans, and society can become deeply polarized. Think about infrastructure. A new high-speed rail line in Europe might take 20 years from conception to completion. Why? Because it involves consulting with every town and village along the route, conducting extensive environmental impact assessments, and securing funding from multiple sources. It's a painstaking process, but the end result is a piece of infrastructure that is well integrated, widely accepted by the public, and built to serve generations. There is less risk of a bridge to nowhere because every stakeholder had a say in where the bridge should go. Of course, this model isn't perfect. There are times when speed is essential, especially in a crisis. And the European system can sometimes get bogged down in its own bureaucracy, leading to frustrating delays. The initial response to the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, was criticized for being slow and disjointed as member states struggled to coordinate. However, even in crisis, the European model eventually finds its footing. After that rocky start, the EU managed to pull together a massive joint procurement program for vaccines and launched an unprecedented recovery fund. Again, the process was slower than in some other places, but the collective solution was powerful and ensured that even the smallest member states had access to vital resources. It was a demonstration of solidarity born from the habit of consensus. This long-term thinking also applies to social policy. European countries are known for their strong social safety nets, universal healthcare, and generous worker protections. These systems weren't built overnight. They were developed over decades of debate, negotiation, and gradual refinement between governments, trade unions, and employers. This social contract, as it's often called, creates a more stable and cohesive society. It reduces inequality and ensures that when people fall on hard times, there's a system in place to catch them. This social stability is another hidden asset, fostering trust and cooperation, which are essential ingredients for a healthy economy and a functioning democracy. So, when we look at Europe, we need to adjust our perspective. We're often conditioned to admire speed and decisive action. We celebrate the disruptors and the innovators who move at a breakneck pace, and there's a place for that. But there's also immense value in the slow, deliberate, and inclusive path that Europe often takes. It's a model that prioritizes stability over speed, consensus over command, and long-term resilience over short-term gains. It's about building things to last. Whether it's a law, a railway, or a social contract, the slow pace is not a sign of decay. It is the rhythm of a continent that has learned from its turbulent history that the best way forward is together, even if it means moving a little more slowly. In a world that seems to be getting faster and more fractured every day, perhaps there's a lesson we can all learn from Europe's patient, steady approach. Maybe, just maybe, the tortoise really does win the race. What do you think? Is Europe's slow and steady approach a strength or a weakness in today's world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the way our world works. See you next time.